Namaste. I'm Srilekha Palle, an Indian American, a mom, and a healthcare professional. Like the majority of us, I was a Democratic voter in the past and voted for Obama and have been an active community member within the Indian community and Asian American community. Living through the nightmare of Obama Affordable Care Act within the healthcare sector day in and day out, and being active in the Asian community, I decided to keenly pay attention to the policies and politics on both sides, especially the policies and politics that are affecting the Asian American communities. The more I learned the policies and the politics behind it, the more I leaned Republican. Now I consider myself a proud Indian American conservative Republican. And in fact, with all the community support, I ran for public office under the platform as well. Thanks to the Trump administration's leadership, defense partnership, counterterrorism efforts, and his economic policies, peace and trade agreements with India and other parts of the world, America has become stronger than ever. But let me tell you, Trump elevated Indian Americans onto the world stage that no American president ever did or could do to us. We are finally not just recognized as South Asians, but are recognized as proud Indian Americans. Let me tell you a little more about Trump administration party overall stance. I do work as a vice chair of campaigns and elections for Fairfax GOP. Trump administration party stance is anti-fascist left, pro-free market, pro-family narrative, anti-terrorism, anti-China and Pakistan. These are all Indian American stances too. Being affluent, our Indian American community will benefit from Trump's favorable tax policy, merit-based education, meritocracy, and merit-based immigration policies. The party's stance on law and order is what as Indian Americans we believe in. As a mom, I believe in law and order. We don't believe in defunding the police. We believe in defending the police. So our families and our communities can be safe and secure. More and more Indian Americans are beginning to recognize my friends who voted for Obama, who were liberal, who voted as Democrats, are starting to realize that being and supporting a president that defends our police is the way to go. And also, these are the causes that will benefit our community in the long run versus candidates such as Biden or Harris that vilify us or put them under the blanket of South Asian community in the name of diversity without giving us necessary deserved identity. Building on the incredible achievements of President Donald Trump's first term in office, President Trump's boundless optimism and certainty in America's greatness is reflected in his second term goals and stance in stark contrast to the gloomy vision of America projected by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Democrats. President Trump is fighting for all of us. Indian Americans like you and me are thriving under President Trump's commitment to honor the comprehensive global strategic partnership with India, which includes the preservation of democracy, freedom, law and order, and the advancement of quality education for our children and economic empowerment. The choice for president is clear for Indian Americans. 4 more years of a President Trump presidency will further build on our US-India partnership and secure a prosperous future for all our Indian American families. Now let's talk about economy. The economy has come roaring back to life under President Trump. The stock market has hit record high after record high, helping more Americans build wealth and secure our futures. Through needed tax cuts and reform, the administration is bringing jobs back to our country even after COVID-19. The president is helping US workers by expanding the programs. He's reforming the job training programs, and he's bringing the businesses and educators together and ensuring high quality classroom instructions. Trump has created, believe it or not, 10 million new jobs in just 10 months. He's created 1 million new small businesses. Mind you, these are all after this tragic pandemic. He's cut taxes to boost take home pay and is keeping jobs secure in America. He's enacting fair trade deals that protect American jobs. He is giving tax credits for made in America for small business entrepreneurs. He's expanding opportunity zones that never happened in democratic cities. He's continuing to deregulatory agenda for energy independence. And these Trump tax credits are helping middle class people just like you and me. Now, let us also talk a little bit about immigration, because that is something that is very important for Indian Americans like you and me. The United States must adopt a comprehensive immigration system. There is really no doubt about that. But also, please remember that this comprehensive immigration system should serve the national interest. In order to restore the rule of law and secure our border, President Trump is committed to constructing a border wall and ensuring the swift removal of unlawful entrance. To protect our American workers, the President Trump is supporting ending child migration, eliminating visa lottery, and moving the country to a merit-based entry system. When we are talking about merit-based entry system, think about it. It always benefits our H-1B program. It always benefits our Indian immigrants because they are the ones that have the superior educations. They are the ones that are coming here with a high-tech education. These are the reforms that will advance the safety and prosperity of all Americans, especially Indian Americans, while helping our new citizens assimilate and flourish. When you have a comprehensive immigration programs and when Democrats are proposing the reforms, they're always talking about illegal immigrants reforms. We understand that in order for a comprehensive immigration program, DACA kids needs to be considered from humanitarian purposes. And I understand that too, and I'm in full support of that. But on the same token, we also need to ensure that we are bringing in new citizens that assimilate and flourish in our economy. We are also focusing on merit-based entry systems or H-1B visa people that mostly are Indian Americans that are stuck in this system of 20, 30-year green card backlogs are also benefiting from this system. I also want to emphasize about our national security and defense. Rebuilding US deterrence to preserve peace through strength must be our nation's top priority. The unprecedented era of peace that followed World War II revealed that a free world is safest when America is strongest. The slow depletion of our military in recent years has resulted in an escalation of threats the world over, which President Trump is committed to reversing. Let's talk about recently Abraham Accords. I was actually present outside the White House supporting Abraham Accords when this was getting signed. It was initially a joint statement of Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and the United States, reached on August 13, 2020, and is subsequently also used to refer collectively to the peace agreements between Israel and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. President Trump brokers a historic peace agreement between Israel and Sudan too. So he's doing record-breaking peace agreements in these Middle Eastern countries. Again, there was another peace deal as an expansion of Abraham Accords. So I also would like to highlight about racism. That's something that is very concerning to Indian Americans. I want to highlight that racism is condemned across the border among Republicans and Democrats. Racism should not be tolerated. I would like to highlight that President Trump has condoned and continues to condemn racism at all levels. So the misnomer that goes on that during Trump era that racism has increased, I think it is just a rumor and it is a fake media news. In fact, I feel like when Obama was in power, the racism continued to go up due to the proliferating statements that Obama continued to encourage. In fact, during the Trump policies, there was a First Step Act that was passed by President Trump, which provided 46% Black African Americans that supported this First Step Act, that kind of helped them get out of the prisons and reform themselves and assimilate into the communities. I also would like to kind of highlight on the fact that many a times Trump administration is labeled as xenophobic, racist, bigots, but Trump has continued to condemn racism, and he also has his own Jewish grandchildren. So for him to be called as racist, I think is utterly nonsense, and that should he has never encouraged racism. And I am part of Conservative Party. I personally can attest to that I'm not somebody that would tolerate racism if I'm going through that. I have never been part of that culture among conservatives, and I just really don't believe that is something that is going on in conservative world. I also would like to take a few minutes to kind of talk about COVID-19 that is going on right now. COVID-19 is something that is a pandemic that none of us are appreciating. But one thing that I would like to highlight is this COVID-19 has been the biggest foreign interference, and the failure of Democrats not being able to realize that says about their incompetence in geopolitical arena. COVID-19 is not something that we wanted to come to our country. It's here, but I want to assure that President Trump is trying his level best, working with the industries across the world and across America in order to ensure that there is a vaccine by the end of 2020. So we can return our lives to normal in 2021. He's ensuring that all critical medicine and supplies for healthcare workers. He's also ensuring that he's refilling all the stockpiles and preparing for future pandemics as well. He's taken this as a great opportunity to ensure that we are ending our reliance on China. He's brought back 1 million manufacturing jobs from China. He's providing tax credits for companies that are bringing back from China. And I think he's called for what it is. This is a communist China virus. It is a Wuhan virus, nothing about racist by calling it as China virus. It is a communist China virus. And he's also ensuring that he's allowing 100% expensing deductions for essential industries like pharmaceuticals and robotics who bring back their manufacturing to the United States. He's providing federal contracts for companies who outsource. He's providing no federal contracts for companies who are outsourcing to China. So he's definitely holding China fully accountable for allowing this virus to spread around the world. So the reason I'm talking about pandemic and I'm trying to bring in China here is the biggest blind spot of the left is foreign policy and geopolitics. If they're not able to understand that this pandemic was brought by China and this there is foreign policy and geopolitics are related to this, and if you're really not strong in foreign policy and geopolitics, we are going to be in a very in a bad position. That is the truth. Now, I would like to kind of highlight about healthcare policies about Trump. Since President Trump has taken off the office, he's ensured that he's cut prescription drug prices. He's put patients and doctors back in charge of our healthcare system. I belong to healthcare system, so I know that in Trump administration, our lives has gotten better. He's definitely ensured that there is lower healthcare insurance premium. He's working very hard behind the scenes to ensure that there is no surprise billing anymore. He's trying his best to cover all pre-existing conditions, no matter what happens on the debate stage, and says that Republicans are working towards eliminating coverage for all pre-existing conditions. I would say, no, that is not the case. We understand that majority of our population do have pre-existing conditions, so he's working very hard to ensure that all the pre-existing conditions are covered. He's trying to protect our Social Security and Medicare, which means a lot to all of us. He's doing his very level best to protect our veterans and provide world-class healthcare and services to our veterans and military folks, because they do deserve. They've protected us, and it's important that we take care of them. For Indian Americans, education means a lot. So I'm going to tell you what Trump administration is doing in order to ensure that we provide the quality education in this country. He's providing school choice to every child in America. I will tell you the difference between government school structure and private school structure. Providing school choice is the way to go. Democrats wish that government school choice is the best way to go. Republicans and conservatives wish that parents should have a school choice to go. He's trying to implement what is called as teach American exceptionalism in school. Most of the schools tend to kind of inculcate the behavior that America is bad. Whereas Trump strongly believes that schools should be teaching about history well, schools should be focused on teaching American exceptionalism well. Universe should not be teaching, should not be getting funded from foreign countries and trying to teach anti-American values. We should not be sending our children to universities and paying $250,000 only to realize they come back kind of learning about liberal principles because they're funded by foreign countries or foreign governments. They should be learning American values. They should be learning constitutional values. That is precisely is what our Trump administration's focus is, teach American exceptionalism. So overall, he's also trying to work on a lot of bureaucratic issues like passing congressional term limits, ending bureaucratic government bullying, exposing Washington's money trail, trying to work on not defunding the police, but definitely defunding our police. So I would kind of like to kind of move on to talk a little bit about, in contrast, what is Biden trying to do, not only for the country, but also for Indian Americans. In contrast, Biden is an establishment and belongs to a seasoned political class. In 47 years of public life, he's never done anything substantial, neither favoring the country nor Indian Americans. Kamala Harris, again, although her mother is of Indian descent, she's never acknowledged her Indian roots, and the community clearly sees through her hypocrisy of sudden affection through her tweets and wishes and those are making as mere political opportunism. I'll move on to Pramila Jayapal. She's an Indian American from the Democratic Party, intentionally misled America into believing that lawful constitutional integration of Jammu and Kashmir was unequivocated as. The aftermath of it has been that Indian American community has been unnaturally vilified. According to Biden on the stage, on the debate stage, he said Antifa is just an idea when there is so much riots going on in the city, so many billions of properties are being destroyed, small businesses are being destroyed, a lot of people are losing their lives. He said it's just an idea. I mean, go ahead and talk to people that died during those lootings. Go ahead and talk to small businesses that got destroyed. Talk to people that lost their businesses, lost their income, lost their livelihoods, lost their jobs. How can that just be an idea? It's just happening day in and day out. Then let's talk about our own Gandhi Memorial. That's right there in front of our embassy. It was defaced with profane graffiti during these Antifa-led riots, which I think is very personal to me. Neither Joe Biden nor Kamala Harris had any remarks regarding it. I don't think Kamala Harris' freedom fighter grandfather that she talks about often would be very proud of her actions, or in fact non-actions. She didn't say anything about it or do anything about it. In contrast, President Trump, a president of law and order, has referenced the defacement of our Gandhi Memorial as a tragedy of leftist extremism, and is yet another reminder that Trump administration and the Republican Party stands with Indian Americans. In lieu of Gandhi Jayanti celebrations, Laura Trump even paid a tribute alongside Indian Americans like me. To my surprise, we have a congressman in California, Ro Khanna. He hasn't done much for Indian Americans from policy perspective as well. To my dismay, I also want to bring it to your attention, Tulsi Gabbard, a Hindu American actually, who took an oath on Bhagavad Gita. She faced a lot of Hindu phobia amongst her own Democratic peers. She is infinitely more qualified than Kamala Harris in whichever way you see. Of the 7 Democratic candidates who earned delegates during the presidential primaries, she was the only non-white candidate not offered to speak during the 4-night DNC event. So I don't know how Democratic Party is going to be supporting Indian American candidates in the future. So I just really can't see how Indian Americans will continue to support Kamala Harris or Biden ticket. That being said, I mean, I think I would really like to reiterate that as Indian Americans, we will benefit from Trump's favorable tax policy, merit-based education, meritocracy, his leadership, his defense partnership, counterterrorism efforts, his economic policies, his peace and trade agreements, his overall respect towards the Indian Americans are going to really, really put our children, our grandchildren in the front stage of American lives. So I would urge Indian Americans to go kind of really consider this as a plea from a fellow Indian American and consider looking back into the policies. Granted, we have always voted Democratic, but I would totally urge you guys to kind of think it through, think it for our own sake, for our own children's sake, for our own grandchildren's sake, and try to understand, do you really want to go for pro-free market, capitalistic innovation party, or do you want to go for democratic, socialistic, Marxist, communistic one? Do you want to go for pro-life, or do you want to go for government-funded abortion? Do you want to go for anti-terrorism, or do you want to go for a party that supports China, Russia? Do you want to go for somebody that is strong on terrorism, or do you want to go for somebody that wants to have open borders, open immigration policies, illegal immigration? So the choice is ours. I mean, I would urge, regardless of what as community, we just really have to go out and vote, regardless of our differences or together. Voting is a privilege. So, I mean, I would urge for us all to go out and voice your opinion on November 3rd. That's my more or less my humble request to our Indian American. Our vote matters, regardless of which party you want to vote. Please go out and vote. I hope you vote Republican, but again, your vote is precious. Please, I urge you all to just go and vote on November 3rd. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and namaste to all of you.